Hello and welcome to another Bring Back the Brass. I've got a cornet playing colossus in the Zoom room tonight. Two cornet players with legendary reputations in the brass band world. Kirsty Abbotts is returning after she was with us a couple of weeks ago, and she's joined by Phillip McCann, who needs no introduction. Kirsty and Phillip, welcome to Bring Back the Brass.
Good evening.
Good evening, Sheila.
We've timed this.
I've been called worse than a colossus many times.
We've timed this interview to follow the issuing of the results from the Geneva Heritage Cornet International Slow Melody Competition. That is quite a mouthful.
Yeah.
It's of particular interest to us at Brass Foundations because this is the first run of this competition that is exclusively aimed at under 18 cornet players. And I have to say, when I saw its launch, I was really excited by it. I was like, yes, we need to get behind this. I need to know what's going on. And the fact that it was masterminded by you two was just fantastic. So how did the idea of the competition come about?
Well, I became associated with Geneva Instruments about 18 months ago now, having spent about 30 years with Yamaha. And I'd been asked a few times by Tim Oldroyd at Geneva over the last few years, but I just felt the desire and the passion to try and develop an even better cornet, just to give people an even greater choice. Anyway, through that sort of relationship developing with Geneva and Tim, I had the idea that it'd be good to have, especially in recent months, obviously with everyone in lockdown, etc., and COVID, it would be great to have an online slow melody competition, but even more so to direct it at younger players. And my intentions all along were, by creating this event, was to encourage hopefully the development of our young cornet players, in particular to do with the lyrical aspect of their playing, because as you know, having taught you and Kirsty, melody for me above all is the singing side of music, and we all have a unique voice to express ourselves, especially for us on the cornet. So I was quite keen to do this and then break it down into three categories: 12s and under, 13 to 15, and 16 to 18. And the response was, as Kirsty can chip in a minute, but the response was amazing. We had nigh on 80 video entries, which for one event, 18 and under, is just incredible. And the standard was amazing.
It's fantastic, isn't it? I was listening to the results video only this morning. I thought I'd better watch it again and make sure that I didn't miss anything. But yes, it was fantastic response, isn't it, to get so many? Were there entries when it says it's international? Was it international, or was it mainly Britain based?
There was people entered, and there were videos from people outside the UK, yeah, which was nice.
Yeah.
Made it difficult for me to pronounce some of the names, but no, it was nice. We had some interesting entries from, I don't think we went as far as afield as Australasia, but certainly Europe, yeah, and I think the odd one from America.
Right, super, great. And so what was your process of adjudicating like? Was it a feeling that you got from a solo, or did you have a formula that you needed to tick boxes and say yes, there was great intonation, or there was great phrasing, or was it formulaic, or was it quite a natural process?
Well, as you know, and Kirsty especially as well, I mean, for me, it's all about your feelings in your sound. That's why I said about a unique voice. Each of us have that. And then you've got to somehow project that, what you're feeling, to the listener, because people will always, I think anyway, will always remember how you make them feel. That's why people come away from hearing Kirsty stand up and play solos at brass in concert or a contest. They remember her. more so, I think, than the situation of people playing louder and faster. That might be impressive at the time, but it's soon forgotten. Whereas when you've connected, as Kirsty does, that will stay with people for many, many years, and they'll always, oh yeah, I remember that. But I mean, Kirsty can come in and comment on the overall view that we had on it and the way we approached it.
Yeah, I mean, there was certain performances, and they did, as Philip just said, they just sort of, the sound got you within the first few bars. And what was really interesting and has sort of helped me following on from judging this in my teaching is, we always have talked about how important the sound is, but it really is. And some of the performances, it really didn't matter if some of the notes were just slightly fluffed or a bit split. That really didn't matter at all, which I've always sort of said to my pupils, sort of, go for the overall and, try and communicate your feelings across. But definitely, I think it was great learning.
It's an overall picture, like Kirsty's saying. And this is why I was quite keen when I set it up that I guess you could say it's a contest, but it isn't. And I carefully used the word competition. I could have perhaps used the word festival, because we didn't say, right, this person's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, etc. We chose 3, and even those 3, we didn't say that was first, second, and third. We just chose 3 from each of the categories. There was an overall winner, who will receive my new developed cornet, the Heritage Cornet, which Kirsty plays on as well. And I was quite keen that we don't have this sort of sport-like mentality that sadly is in brass banding perhaps too much for contests, about being better than the other people. And I always remember a famous trumpet player, Bud Herseth, who was for decades principal trumpet at the Chicago Symphony, and he used to say something like, it's not a matter of being better than anyone else, because he was trying to point out, if that's your approach, you can't really love trying to be better than anyone else. You've got to play for your satisfaction, for your joy, and for other people's enjoyment, and just be the best that you can be. And some of the quality of tone and musicianship from 12s and under all the way through, it was incredible. It's and it says a lot about the people teaching them. Kirsty?
Yeah, definitely. It was the 12s and under. I think that sort of some of the sounds they were producing really got to us. They were really good and some excellent teaching.
Yeah, I was surprised when I listened, and I thought, wow, these are, this is the lower age group. What's the upper age group going to be like? Some of it was stunning, wasn't it? So how did you decide on the groups, the age groups? Why 12 and under, did you think? Or was that just a general category?
It was just, when I started, I think, and I was listening to Kirsty when you interviewed Kirsty on her own. Obviously, I know her as a friend and as a student. We're very similar in the way we've come through banding. And I just thought, well, 7, 8-ish is probably when you're going to start. And then maybe the first 3 or 4 years is that foundation laying, so to speak. So I just chose 12 with a bit of thought and careful thought. 12 seemed to be a good starting point, and 12 and under. And then I didn't want to sort of bunch up from there to 18. So it was just a matter of thinking, well, how can we just break it up even? As it turned out, it was quite even with the entries. We had the biggest entry, not by much, but just by a little percentage. The biggest entry was the 12 and under. But then the 13, 15 and 16, 18 were more or less like for like in numbers in the sense of entries. And it just worked out that way. It seems to fit now. And I chatted with Kirsty as well about breaking these ages, and we both agreed on that sort of outlook on it. I don't know if Kirsty wants to say anything on that.
No, it definitely works, and hopefully this is going to be an event that we do online in the future. So I think we'll
Yeah,
definitely stick with those age
yeah,
groups. It works well.
yeah. Even when we have a new, well, it will be a new normal for the whole planet within the next few months. Hopefully, it will be a new normal life. But it's something Kirsty and I in Geneva want to do annually, and maybe open it up a bit more for other instruments also, and but concentrating on this playing melodies. And as Kirsty said earlier, you know, we all see it at contests. I mean, people in the audience, or some people in the audience, and they think if someone splits a note on stage, it's the end of the world, and there's a big intake of breath. And sometimes as a player or a conductor, you think, here's the instrument, you try and do it better. So those little minor accidents really didn't come into it, because there is no such thing as perfect for anybody or any ensemble. So we really enjoyed the big picture and the way these young players presented themselves.
Did you find that before you heard any entries at all, that you had some preconceived ideas of what you'd be looking for in the different age groups? So were you looking for less of a performance in the under 12s? Because I know when I saw the three from each age group, I didn't feel that the performances were any less because they were younger. But perhaps if I'd have gone in and said, right, well, these are under 12, so that's not going to sound as good as that one who was 18. Did you have those kind of preconceived ideas about what you'd hear?
Kirsty?
I don't think we did. Obviously you'd naturally expect the 18-year-olds to be, a higher standard as such than the 12, but I don't think we really did go in very open-minded. And sort of as you went along and listened to more performances, I suppose you sort of you pick up on more sort of things, whether they've spent sort of time thinking about where they're recording or how they're recording. But it's all sort of a learning curve, really. We can sort of probably put together some advice following on from listening sort of for next time and for positioning of your camera, those sort of things. But no, I don't think we had very open mind, I think, before we listened to any of them.
No, that's exactly spot on. In fact, when was the first day, and you know, I can well, I say I always have the habit of saying what I mean and think with honesty, and we both listened full days at a time. We had every minute of every video. We didn't sort of jump through from the beginning to the middle or the end. We had every minute of every video. And I think we both said when we had the first two or three in the under 12s, that was by chance, that was the first category, not planned as such, but that was the first category of videos we listened to. And I remember sort of looking at Kirsty and vice versa, and we're thinking, oh my God, this is going to be difficult, in a good way difficult.
Yeah.
Because you're thinking, well, if this is under 12s, when we get on paper, when we get to the 16 to 18, it's just going to be out of this world, which it was for all of them. But that's why I kept it open, because as it turned out, the overall winner was from the eldest group. But my mind was totally open, because I thought, well, if it's the 13 to 15 or under 12, they could be the overall winner as well. So we certainly had that open-mindedness for the whole package, and they were just amazing from the start. Which was good.
And did you give individual feedback for every performance?
Yes, we did. Yeah,
You did.
yeah, for
Oh,
everything.
that's fantastic.
Yeah, we were, as we were going through, we were dictating to someone else who was doing the typing. Obviously, it's impossible to, I mean, if we were in the same room in normal times, we could obviously help so much more. We both did our best. I mean, Kirsty would have a point and I would have a point, and we would put it together for one package for each. But we actually gave a few sentences for every video that was being typed up, and that's being emailed to each individual to try, albeit, as I say, in that limited way, to help them. And we have made the offer to all of them. If they want to come back, Kirsty and I will try and help them individually on Zoom or whatever, if they have a particular question or problem that we can deal with individually. But obviously, the best we could in the situation we're in.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's something that they're going to hold on to, isn't it? That, if you're going to get feedback from people such as yourselves, they're going to get something to hold on to and work on. That's brilliant. Really good. Philip, you spoke on your feedback at the results about a network of support, and that being a brass player in a brass band is all about community. And I wondered if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, yeah, because another reason for the age group, especially the 12s and under, I guess, but having grown up, as we all did, us three anyway, I know of, the brass band for me has never, ever been a profession. I've never professionally lived from anything I do with brass banding. In fact, it's been the total opposite. I've been an educator at the university for 30 years, etc. But brass banding is a hobby, and my approach is always the same. That's fine, but that doesn't stop us trying to be of the highest standards, or some people will use the word professional standards, but the word professional doesn't always imply the highest standards. We just try to be the best we can be. And the beauty of a brass band, historically and obviously traditionally, and still today in many, many places, is community, because it's usually the sort of focal point for a town or a village, as we all know, or a church, etc., etc. And when you're young, especially, you've got that network that I was referring to. The support element is your parents, your teacher. All of these things come together and contribute, I think, to your community. And I think we tend to probably forget where we came from sometimes as we grow up, or some, and what we owe to the support that we got from your town band or your village band or your Salvation Army band, etc., etc. And I find that sad sometimes, because we should never ever forget where we come from. I know you two don't, because I know you personally, but it's so so important. And if you have those values from that, it will stand you in great stead through your life, because you'll always be doing things for the right reason in banding. And that's what I try to do. Not always the most popular, but I always try to do it for the right reasons, with banding at the heart of it, and no other reasons.
Kirsty, I noticed a photograph on social media the other day that said, "Don't forget where you come
Yeah.
from," and that was of you
Ah.
as a little tot.
Yeah, that was me with Shipston. That was my first contest on second cornet. But yeah, I mean, just following on from Philip, it was great to see, in some cases, brothers and sisters
Yeah.
entering, and we were quite taken back with so many that had a parent or some even didn't even look like the brother or sister accompanying on the piano. So it was, it's just really good to have that opportunity to be able to perform with a pianist in your own house. It's great to have that support. Yeah,
it is. I know.
On the other side, I mean, the actual courage. I mean, and as a young person, especially 12 and under, but for all of them, or anyone, I don't care what age, to actually just be in your room, bedroom, lounge, or a teaching room at school on your own, no sounds. And the pressure, I don't think people realize and appreciate the pressure when you're trying to do something to the best that you can, because there's nothing worse than silence. And you all know when you go into a contest stage and there's that silence before you start, and you think, oh God, let's get. I mean, the courage of these young players, I mean, it's so much to be applauded. They were so brave.
And I suppose it can be said of the competitions that go on all the time. they're so important, not just for the playing, but for, you know, having the nerves of steel that are needed for those special moments when you're on the contest stage. So again, it's another outlet, isn't it, for that opportunity?
You see, that's the one thing, like I said before, one thing you or Kirsty or I, the one thing in particular we can't teach is experience. And that's why they have to gain it. It might be tough at sometimes, and I always try to say those moments, you know, they're a bit like stepping stones in a little stream. You've got to use them as stepping stones, learn from them, and use that to the next time. Okay, I know what to do a little bit better in that particular area or that particular area. So using those little mistakes or learning curves as stepping stones, really, as you go through life. And the moment you stop learning, give up. I mean, I'm always trying to learn every day in some way or other from various aspects of friends, people I respect, or listening to certain music, etc., etc. So we all learn from each other every day, and then we try and pass it on. But you can't teach that. That experiencing is you've got to keep your ears open and your heart open and listen all the time.
Can't put it better than that.
Wow.
So what kind of music did you hear? I was interested to know if the entries were from exam syllabuses or whether they were band pieces. Was there a fair mix?
There was a very fair mix. There was sort of across the board, you know, this.
I've actually got them. I've still got all my handwritten notes in front
I've
of
still
me
got
now.
mine just here. But
There was all sorts. I mean, you might have had something from, for example, from The Lion King, and then you would have Salvation Army solos like "Share My Yoke" and "Don't Doubt Him Now." Show music, film music, all well chosen. There was nobody chose anything that was out of the reach. They were all sensibly chosen, I thought. But you had virtually every genre of music you could think of in those sort of categories: show music, film music, songs, opera. I mean, obviously songs from opera, etc. No, they were great, and as I say, more importantly, they were well chosen. And because there's nothing worse. I mean, sometimes we can all think, "Oh, I love that piece," and it's the same with bands. Oh, it's a great piece, but it might be just a little bit too difficult for the band or the individual. So you've got to choose something you like, but something that's a test, but realistically test.
Lovely. Well, it would have been lovely to have heard some. I heard 9 or 10 actually with the youngest player. How old was she?
6.
She was only 6.
She was 6. Oh my goodness! How fabulous! How fabulous with that, with her enormous headphones on.
Well,
Lovely.
we didn't originally. There was no planned youngest entrant award. But when we were chatting with a guy called Vince Eckerman and Tim Oldroyd, the sort of CEOs up there, we just, on the spur of the moment, we just thought, yeah, why not? And so I think they're giving her a mentor, I think they call it, a mentor Cornet that Geneva make. But the other, when we were putting the video together to release, it just seemed right. I was so sort of strongly opinionated that the whole video of results being announced should finish just with a few moments of her at the end. Because to me, that last 10, 15 seconds with her was just out of this world. That, to me, it said it all about what brass banding is. It's like Kirsty's just said, oh, when I was so-and-so, I played second cornet with my band, and Sheila, you'll have the same opinion. There'll be someone when I started and with my band, same with me. And that young girl, it just said it all, Ivy. It was,
super, wasn't it? I did start tearing up at that point. I thought that was really special.
Yeah,
really special.
She just completely melted us when she finished, and then she just looked at the camera for the last few bars.
How lovely. Just a general question about exam syllabuses. Do you think that cornet music is represented well enough in the cornet syllabus, you know, the associated board and Trinity. There's a lot of trumpet music in there. How do you feel about that?
I feel quite strongly. It's just not represented properly. I don't know what the system is in the sense of who the people are that choose the repertoire, but you would think and you would hope, but obviously it doesn't seem to happen, that they liaise with proper, well, I say proper, but shall we say cornet players or traditional cornet players within the brass band movement that could, a small team of people like Kirsty, myself, yourself, wherever, could say, oh, there's this and there's that, etc., for the actual cornet. Because I chose, I mean, I grew up with people like John Wallace and John Miller and Jim Gourley and all these people. I mean, they chose the orchestral side, went down the trumpet side, albeit cornet players as kids. I never ever wanted that because it just never felt the thing I wanted to do. And I'm sure that's the same with Kirsty, because we love playing the cornet. So why should young players be given trumpet repertoire?
Yeah.
It defeats the object. I mean, I don't know what Kirsty thinks, but I mean, I'm sure.
No, I agree, and I think there's more than enough repertoire for just to be a list of cornet that is not mixed in with trumpet and.
It is just.
And the other thing now in recent times is, I mean, there is so much, as Kirsty, as you said, but I mean, there's quite new, from a melodic point of view, which could be one of the categories on these grades. People like Ben Holling and is it Christopher Bond? I mean, they've written some nice little cornet solos, originals. So there's just no reason for it other than, I don't know.
As an observation, I just find that the higher up the grades we go, there is less opportunity for the instrument to be represented as we know it.
I agree, and also with the instrument, or with any instrument. I mean, the way they grade it, I mean, there should be a category that shows off a person, whatever instrument, the musicianship in playing a melodic line or a melodic solo, and then another category that gives them a choice of something that's a bit more technical. But at the end of the day, there should be there is no reason why everything on the syllabus isn't a cornet solo or a tenor horn solo. They get French horn music sometimes. There's no reason for it.
No.
Other than something I won't say.
Okay. Okay. Can we go back to just back to the competition or the festival, and that you've arranged for the top 3 in each category to have a masterclass, which is wonderful. What a great prize. Will they be face-to-face masterclasses?
I think.
Well, sorry, go on, Kirsty.
I think the plan is that once, to wait until we can do it face-to-face, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's obviously like everything in our lives at the moment. It's all dependent on COVID and the rules and regulations, and obviously there is absolutely no way that we would endanger or take any risks or break any rules. What we would hope is that we can do it when times are allowing, face to face, because it's the, well, I'm sure you all know as teachers as well. I mean, it's just not the same. So we are aiming, and an email is being sent out to all the entrants and the 9 that we'll go through for Kirsty and I to work with as a group. That will be at the right time, and it will be face to face, and they will be treated like the worthy winners that they are.
Fabulous. That's really lovely. Will those be recorded, or will they be available to the public, or is that going to be a very private prize?
I'm not usually very private. Everybody can hear me when I'm around. No, it won't be private. The intent is to video. I don't know about whether every minute of the day or however long the time is, but there will be a recording of it, and whether it's edited just to obviously make it feasible to be seen publicly, but there will be a video recording of it, yeah.
Great. I look
Just so
forward
that they can see Kirsty's smiling face and my miserable face.
That was a
You see, with the idea is we balance each other.
I was going to say, as a teacher, that's a really useful thing to have access to.
Yeah, because a lot of the things that will crop up will be common denominators. We all have the same objectives to try and achieve.
And some of those common denominators you mentioned, didn't you, where you said concentrate on breathing and embouchure technique.
Yeah, because you mean that's I always try to make connections and get people to imagine and use their mind's eye, all sorts of things we can see and come from a different aspect. And it's like building a house. You can have, £1 million house, but if the foundation isn't good, that house isn't going to be there very long. It's going to fall down, and the cracks will appear, and the blah blah blah. And it's the same. Another thing I try to say is it's like a violinist having a Stradivarius, but if he or she can't bow, it's no use. It's just a piece of wood. And this is why the fundamentals of the breathing and the embouchure, if you get that right with time and patience and dedication and practicing properly, you'll get there with technical stuff. It just needs patience and work. But the supremacy for me is always sound, and that primarily is controlling your breath, your breathing technique, and your embouchure, shaping it and forming it properly. And then obviously with a good instrument and mouthpiece, you're going to make the best sound possible for you, and that will be your voice.
I'm going to ask you a final question before we finish for today, because that time has gone so fast. Did you agree on everything?
Go on, Kirsty. You're allowed to.
No, we did though.
Yeah.
I did actually, yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, I mean it's.
Or did you?
Yeah, we did. It's common. At the end of the day, it's no surprise, because if you've got the same or similar philosophies, and it's all about sound and music and the way you shape your phrases and the way you try to express yourself, I mean, who does it better than Kirsty today? So I'm not going to. There's no way we would disagree on anything. We might come at it from a different angle, and maybe have a slightly different sentence that could say the same thing in slightly different words. But there was absolutely no agreement, even with choosing the three from each category. And I actually allowed, that's the wrong word, but Kirsty would say number so and so, so and so, and so and so, and in fact, I've got the sheets here. I mean, I'd put a ring around the same numbers. It was total agreement for sure.
Well, that's good news for those players, isn't it? That they shone so much that you were agreed on that. And a big congratulations, of course, to the overall winner, Luke Barker, who I think has got a fantastic future ahead of him.
Definitely, yeah.
As is, hopefully, the other thing is that all these young players stay with us and stay with our movement and stay with the bands, because there was the potential is so good for banding if they stay with us. I hope we don't lose them to trumpet playing, etc.
Yeah, of course. Okay, well, we're going to have to leave it there, Kirsty and Philip. Thank you very, very much for sharing your thoughts on this first heritage competition. That's been a wonderful feedback session. really enjoyed it, and we look forward to another recording next week, when we will be finding out who we're going to be seeing next week, because we're not really sure at the moment. So
Kirsty's available.
Kirsty's available. Yeah, we'll get Kirsty back on again. Thank you very much, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you, Sheila.
Bye.
Bye.